In the annals of Philippine legal history, few cases have captured public attention quite like People v. Webb. This case, decided by the Supreme Court on December 14, 2010, involved serious allegations, high-profile defendants, and a star witness whose credibility would become the focal point of the entire trial. As we journey through the twists and turns of this landmark case, we'll explore the legal issues, the arguments from both sides, and ultimately, the Supreme Court's reasoning that led to the acquittal of Hubert Webb and 6 others. Let's begin by understanding the central figures and the gravity of the accusations. Central to the prosecution's case was Jessica Alfaro, who claimed she was present during the commission of the crime. Alfaro's testimony directly implicated Hubert Webb and several others, making her the so-called star witness. However, her role was not without controversy. The defense argued that Alfaro was a professional witness, allegedly planted by the National Bureau of Investigation. Her statements were riddled with inconsistencies and improbabilities, casting doubt on her reliability. This set the stage for a fierce legal battle over the credibility of witness testimony and the standards required for conviction. The other side, Hubert Webb, presented a strong alibi. He asserted that he was in the United States at the time the crime occurred. This claim was not made lightly. It was backed by travel records and corroborating testimonies from various individuals. Traditionally, courts view alibis with skepticism, especially when there is positive identification from a witness. But in this case, the reliability of the identification itself was under scrutiny. The defense's evidence challenged the prosecution's narrative and forced the court to weigh the strength of documentary proof against the word of a single, questionable witness. Key legal principle is that alibi is generally considered a weak defense, especially when there is positive identification by a witness. However, the Supreme Court in this case took a closer look at the quality of the identification provided by Alfaro. Her testimony, already marred by inconsistencies, failed to meet the high standard required to override a well-supported alibi. The court questioned whether Alfaro's account could truly be relied upon, given the contradictions and improbabilities in her statements. This critical evaluation shifted the balance in favor of the defense. The heart of any criminal trial is the principle of due process and the presumption of innocence. The Supreme Court emphasized that a conviction can only be secured if guilt is proven beyond reasonable doubt. In this case, the evidence presented by the prosecution was shaky at best. The inconsistencies in Alfaro's testimony, combined with the strong documentary evidence supporting Webb's alibi, meant that the prosecution failed to meet its burden. The presumption of innocence, therefore, had to prevail, underscoring the importance of protecting the rights of the accused. December 14, 2010, the Supreme Court handed down its decision. Webb and 6 others were acquitted of all charges. The court's reasoning was clear. Jessica Alfaro's testimony was unreliable and inconsistent, failing to provide the certainty required for a criminal conviction. Furthermore, the documentary evidence, including immigration records and supporting testimonies, strongly supported Webb's claim that he was not in the country when the crime occurred. The prosecution's case simply did not hold up under scrutiny. Acquittal in People v. Webb had a significant impact on legal standards in the Philippines. It reinforced the importance of credible witness testimony and the necessity for solid corroborated evidence in criminal cases. The case also highlighted the dangers of relying too heavily on a single, questionable witness, especially when documentary evidence points in another direction. Legal practitioners and the public alike were reminded that the justice system must always err on the side of caution when a person's liberty is at stake. This landmark decision serves as a cautionary tale for future criminal prosecutions. It underscores the need for thorough investigation, reliable evidence, and the careful evaluation of witness credibility. The Webb case reminds us that the stakes in criminal trials are incredibly high, and that the courts must always uphold the presumption of innocence unless guilt is proven beyond a reasonable doubt. For legal professionals, this case is a powerful example of the standards that must be met to secure a conviction. In conclusion, People v. Webb is more than just a high-profile acquittal. It is a reaffirmation of the principles that underpin the justice system: the presumption of innocence, the requirement of proof beyond reasonable doubt, and the critical importance of credible evidence. The Supreme Court's decision not only changed the lives of those involved, but also set a precedent for how similar cases should be approached in the future. Justice, as this case shows, is not just about punishment, but about ensuring fairness and upholding the rule of law.